How are we doing, guys? This is Mr. Striz and I'm checking in. Today we're going to be talking about modes of inheritance and taking a look at that LEQ there, identify the different modes of inheritance. So what we're going to be talking about today is codominance, incomplete dominance, sex-linked traits, multiple alleles, and polygenic traits. Now, a lot of this stuff you'll see in humans without actually seeing it. You know, these modes of inheritance affect blood type, hair, eye color, height, skin color, anything like that. And I want to take a look at a couple of those today. So the first one we're looking at is codominance. So looking at codominance here, you can see this picture where we have a white chicken, a black chicken, and a speckled chicken. And notice those genotypes there. Big W, big B, and then it comes out for that speckled chicken, a big W and a big B. Notice you have two dominant phenotypes there. So that happens with codominance because in codominance, neither allele is dominant or recessive and both are expressed. So both that white phenotype is expressed along with that black phenotype, and that's how you get that speckled chicken that's kind of a black chicken with white in it as well. So it's not black or white because neither of those dominant alleles actually take over. So it's a combination of both. So codominance, you know, they're both dominant there because they're not one does not take over the other. And the next one we're looking at is incomplete dominance. So kind of a difference between them there. Looking at incomplete dominance. So looking at this picture here, you see that we have a red rose and a white rose, a big R, little r, little r. Now look at these four squares here. They all have one big R and one little r. So what we talked about before is that all four of those should be red because at least one capital letter. But it doesn't happen in incomplete dominance because in incomplete dominant, one allele does not completely dominate another allele and results in a new phenotype. So that red phenotype is not completely dominating the white phenotype, hence incomplete dominance. So instead we get a pink rose. So that's how you get pink roses, is when you cross a red rose with a white rose, because that red dominant allele does not completely dominate the recessive white allele. So we get that pink. So incomplete dominance, once again, is when one allele does not completely dominate another allele and results in a new phenotype. And another example we see is sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell anemia, you have both the normal allele and the sickle cell allele, and that normal allele doesn't take over the sickled cell, so you get that new phenotype there, which is how people have sickle cell anemia. Now moving on to multiple alleles. So looking at this picture here, notice we have a genotype that are a couple different, like big C is black, big C with a CH, or sorry, little c, both having a CH on top is a chinchilla. And notice they're all working with the letter C, but there's some similarities or some differences to it, and that's because of multiple alleles. And what multiple alleles are is when there are more than two alleles that code for a gene. So the gene is skin color here on this rabbit. There's more than two alleles. You have big C, you have little c, CH, little c, CH, or little c, little h, little c, little h. So there's more than two alleles here that code for that one gene. And another example that we see in this, or another example in real life, is baldness. Baldness is because of multiple alleles. So male pattern baldness is a result of multiple alleles. Once again, where there are more than two alleles that code for a gene. On here we have multiple alleles here, like I said, that little c, little h, and so on and so forth. But that brings us into sex-linked traits now. So sex-linked traits sound exactly like they are. They're traits that are found on the sex chromosomes. So notice here you have, in this picture here, you have red-green color blindness. And normal vision male is an X and a Y with a big C. Colorblind male is an X and a little c. Now the normal female is an XX, both with big C's. Now a normal vision female is a XX with a big C and a little c. But she is a carrier because she has that little c there. In a colorblind female, two X's with both little c's. So that little c is the colorblindness there. Now notice here, we see a lot of sex-linked traits that affect males, and there's a reason behind it. Notice with males, they only have one X and the other is a Y. So females, on the other hand, have two X's, so they can have one of the little C's for color blindness. But as long as they have that capital C, they're not going to be colorblind. So whereas males, as they have one X and they have a little C, they're going to be colorblind. So females, you don't see it as much because they have two X's, so they can kind of hide the trait or a carrier there. Whereas males, if you have it because you only have one X there. So now moving on to the last one here, polygenic traits. So what polygenic traits are, they are just traits that are controlled by two or more genes. So it sounds similar to multiple alleles, but remember, multiple alleles is when there's only one gene, but there's multiple alleles that code for it. Here, polygenic traits, on the other hand, are traits that are controlled by two or more genes. So notice here, we have eye color. The mother is big A, big B, little b. Father is big A, big B, little b. Notice we talked about these dihybrid squares, but notice now how there's not really, one eye color percent or per se. When you have all four capital letters, you have this very darkish red looking one. But you have, go on here on the opposite side, you have two lowercase, or both are all lowercase letters, and it's a very light one. So that's why people just don't have blue eyes, green eyes, brown eyes. There are different shades of it. There's a different, this is kind of a more turquoise, a greenish compared to this blue here. And then we have a darker brown, let's say here, compared to a lighter brown here. So eye color is a good example of polygenic traits because they're controlled by two or more genes, and so there's almost like different shades of it. And it also goes along with hair color, and I'll show you that picture there with hair color. Notice in hair color, I'll move it up, make it a little larger, that hair color is the same thing. We're all not just dark hair, brown hair, light hair. It's different shades of different hair colors because of it being that hair color being controlled by two or more of the genes there. So you're going to have all different letters produce different shades, whether you're a very dark hair or very light skinned here over here. So polygenic traits, height is another one where polygenic traits, where the height is controlled by two more genes. That's why not one person is just 6'2" and the other person is just 5'2". There's 5'6", 6'4". So, there's many different types of height. But that brings us to the end of our modes of inheritance there. Make sure you go on to page 78, put in those pictures, and label for each type of mode of inheritance. This is Mr. Striz signing out.